The auctioneer's voice cracks. Lot 42. Human labor. Ranch foreman. Starting at $5. The barn air hangs like wet cloth, heavy with hay and whiskey breath. Men lean on rails. A baby fusses behind grain sacks. The barn smells of dust and fear, and money still hums in pockets and boots. Drunk, someone whispers. Mean when he's dry, another says. Broke the foreman's jaw once, a third adds, just loud enough for him to hear. He stands beside the block, hat low, shirt half untucked, eyes like a man who woke on a floor and never got up. He sways but stays upright. The sheriff watches from a high chair. 5, a boy calls, trying to laugh. 6, from a man who owns too many fields. 7, the numbers creep forward like cattle in heat. 10, she says. The barn quiets, a hole punched in noise. A maid, skirt plain, hands clean, eyes steady. 10, she repeats. The sheriff turns his head. Who's that? Someone mutters. New girl, another answers. Hires by night, pays by sunrise. The sheriff smiles without teeth. Do I hear 11? 11, a field man says. 12, comes from the back. The maid watches the rancher. He pretends not to see her. 15, she says. You sure, girl? The sheriff's voice slides across the hay. I'm sure, she says. You know what he is? I know what he costs. 17, a neighbor spits. 18, she says. 19, the field man insists. 20, she says. A murmur blooms like sickness. Someone laughs. You're buying trouble. She answers, I'm buying work. He answers back. He doesn't work. He fights. She says, then he can fight my fences. The drunk lifts his head, curious despite himself. 21, the neighbor tries. 22, she presses. Girl, you got a coin? The auctioneer asks. Count it, she says, showing a roll bound in string. The sheriff studies the knot like it holds a secret. 25, the field man pushes. 27, the barn stops again. A nail echoes under a boot. The drunk looks at her like a man hearing his name called from a river. The auctioneer's gavel taps. Going once, going twice. The sheriff raises a palm, lazy as summer. The room waits. His hand falls to his thigh. The gavel hits. Sold. Girl just bought a storm. She turns. Storms water the land. He smirks. They also drown it. Coins clink. She counts clean on the ledger. The sheriff steps close enough to share breath. You know you answer to me, he says. Debt law runs through my badge. She lifts her eyes. Badges pass. Paper stays. He tilts his hat. Paper burns. She says, fire leaves ash. Ash tells what burned. He studies her face and finds no cracks. You want a refund later? I don't give them. She says, I won't ask. The drunk speaks for the first time, soft as a bruise. You don't want me. She answers, I paid for you. He says, you don't know me. She says, I know enough. He says, you know rumors. She says, rumors come from mouths. Work comes from hands. Name? The auctioneer asks. Ruth, she says. The sheriff repeats it like a question. Ruth what? She says, Ruth will do. He smiles. We'll see. The barn loosens. People move. The neighbor spits near the drunk's boot. Careful, Ruth says. You said he fights. Don't start him. The neighbor lifts both hands. Not touching your new toy. The word toy cuts. The drunk flinches. Ruth pockets the receipt. She turns to the drunk. Cart. He answers, don't walk for strangers. She says, you'll walk for a coin. He says, you got my coin, not me. She says, I own your hours. He says, I'm not a day. The sheriff's voice drapes over them. Ruth, are you sure you want to take that problem through my town? She says, your town? He smiles. I hold the keys. She says, keys rust. He grins wider. Rust still locks. She says, not forever. Don't, the drunk mutters. She asks, don't what? He says, don't poke him. She says, he poked first. He says, he always does. She says, then we keep moving. Whispers follow like gnats. She's mad. She's brave. She's dead by winter. Ruth keeps her eyes on the exit. The drunk stumbles once, then straightens. At the door, the sheriff calls, Ruth! She stops. There's a well out of his old place, he says. The cover's rotten. Don't let him near it. She says, thank you for the warning. He tips his hat. Who said it was a warning? Outside, light hits hard, dust lifts and dances. Ruth breathes and banks the breath like money. She faces him. "We leave," she says. He doesn't move. She grips his arm to lead him out, and he does not move. "I don't walk for strangers." His voice is rough, slurred, thick with the last bottle still clinging to his breath. He plants his boots in the dirt, swaying just enough to prove he's fighting gravity and her in the same breath. "You're walking for me," Ruth says. Her hand stays tight on his arm. "I ain't yours. You're mine till the paper burns. That paper's nothing. It bought your hours, bought your hands, bought your feet too." He turns his head, slow, eyes narrowing. "Bought my mouth. No one wants that." He smirks. "You sound sure." "I am." He leans closer. "You talk like a preacher. And you smell like a saloon floor." That earns a dry laugh from him. "You think you're tough." "I think you owe work." He jerks his arm, but she doesn't loosen her grip. "Where are we going?" "To the wagon." "What's in the wagon?" "Work." "That's all. That's enough." His eyes drift over her dress. "Cloth's too clean. Won't be by night. Hands are too soft. They lift better than yours." He barks another laugh. "And that voice sounds like it's never been yelled at." "It's been yelled at plenty. I just didn't listen." He pulls hard, trying to twist free. "I could walk away." "You could," she says, "but the sheriff would send you back." "Sheriff's worse than me." "Then you should be glad I bought you." He squints. "Why did you do it?" "I needed someone who can work." "I can't." "You can." "I won't." "You will." He grins, leaning on the word like a dare. "Make me." She steps in front of him, blocking his path backward. "Walk." He stays put. "Say, please." "Walk." He tilts his head. "You don't ask nicely?" "Not for what I paid for." "That's cold." "That's business." She tugs his arm. He stumbles, boots sliding in the dirt. "Careful," he says. "Ground's got teeth." "Then keep your feet under you." "You think I can't drop you in the mud?" "You can try." He lets her pull him a few steps, then slows again. "You look like you've never hauled a man before." "I haven't." "You should start smaller." "You're smaller than I expected." That draws a sharp look. "You got a mouth on you. And you've got a price tag." They reach the edge of the yard. His heel catches in a rut, and he nearly goes down. She yanks him upright before he can land face first. He mutters something she doesn't catch, low and mean. "Speak up." "I said you're stubborn." "I've been called worse." He eyes the road ahead. "How far?" "Half a mile." "That's too far." "It's not far enough." He squints. "Not far enough for what?" "Not far enough to leave you behind." He smirks again, but his voice drops lower. "You keep grabbing my arm, people will talk." "They already are." "That doesn't bother you." "It doesn't slow me down." He shakes his head, grinning like she's the fool. "You're strange." "Strange enough to buy a drunk at auction." He glances back toward the barn. "They'll be laughing about that for weeks." "They can laugh." "They will." "Let them." She pulls harder, forcing him over the last rise before the road flattens. The wagon waits ahead, paint chipped, wheels dusty from a dozen trips just like this one. "That's yours?" he asks. "Yes." "It's ugly." "So are you." He chuckles low. "Fair." She leads him toward the back. His steps drag again, the fight not gone, just slower. "What kind of work do you think I'm going to do?" "The kind you're told." "I don't take orders." "You do now." He stops dead. "Say that again." "You take orders." His jaw tightens. "From you?" "Yes." He studies her for a long beat, as if weighing the words in his head. Then he laughs, sharp and humorless. "You're gonna regret this." "Maybe." "Not maybe. You will." She moves past him, still pulling. "We'll see." The ground near the wagon is soft from last night's rain. He hits a patch, his boots sliding deep into mud. He curses, grabbing the side rail to steady himself. "Watch your step," she says. "Are you trying to kill me?" "Not yet." He wipes his boot against the wheel, glaring at her. "Is this the part where I thank you?" "No." "Is this the part where I climb in?" "Yes." He narrows his eyes but doesn't move. "And if I don't?" "I'll push you." He stares at her, half amused, half testing. Then, faint over the wind, a small cry carries from inside the wagon. His head snaps toward the sound. "What was that?" Her hand tightens on his arm. Get in. That's a baby. Get in. He's already moving before she says it again. That ain't mine. No one said it was. He stands half in, half out of the wagon, boots on the wheel hub, eyes fixed on the small bundle in the corner. The air between them feels tight, like the space just before a fight. The baby stirs. Ruth lifts him slow, one hand under the neck, the other cradling the back. She rocks him without looking at the rancher. Where'd you get him? His voice is low but not soft. Not from you. That's not an answer. It's the only one you get. He squints, leaning on the rail. He's too small to be yours. You watching my life that close? I hear things. You hear lies. I hear what people whisper when they think I'm not listening. Ruth hums under her breath, not to him, not to answer, just to keep the baby quiet. Who's the father? Not you. Didn't say it was me. You're circling it. He leans closer, voice dropping. Looks like someone I knew. Lots of babies do. Not like this one. Her eyes cut to him for the first time. Are you seeing ghosts? Maybe. Then keep them to yourself. The baby shifts, small fingers curling against her wrist. She watches the movement, rocking him slowly, the way a clock ticks. Are you planning to keep it? I already am. That's not what I asked. That's what I answered. His mouth tightens. You ever think about how folks are going to talk? They're already talking. They'll say worse. They always do. He stares at the baby like the sight is pulling at something he's not ready to name. What's his name? Doesn't matter to you. Maybe it does. It doesn't. You got a mean way of talking, and you've got a mean way of looking. Can't help how I look. You can. Help where you look. He shifts back but doesn't look away. Are you keeping him warm enough? Why do you care? Because I've seen winters break smaller ones. She studies his face, looking for the catch. Are you pretending to care? Maybe I'm remembering something. What? Doesn't matter to you. The wagon creaks as he climbs in fully, sitting opposite her. His eyes stay on the child. You feed him yourself? Yes. That's work? Yes. You look tired? Yes. You always answer like that? Yes. His jaw flexes, a small, restless movement. You don't think I can help? I don't think you will. I've held a baby before. Not this one. Doesn't matter. It matters to me. He leans forward, elbows on knees. If he's not mine, why do you flinch when I look? I don't flinch. You do. You see what you want. Maybe I do. She keeps rocking. The baby sighs, a soft exhale that lands between them like another question. You don't even want to know what I'm thinking, he asks. No. You're lying. I'm not. You're scared it's the same thing you're thinking. I'm not scared. He leans back, studying her. You carry him like you've done it before. I have. Yours? No. Whose? Not yours. That answer's getting old. It's the only one you'll get. His gaze drifts to the baby's face. Something in it holds him, softens the sharpness in his eyes. He's got a mouth like, don't. He stops, swallows. You know who I was thinking? Yes. You're not going to say it? No. Why? Because some names don't get spoken. Silence wraps around the wagon, heavy and close. The horse shifts in its harness outside. You think you can keep him safe here? He asks. I will. You sure? Yes. You'd fight for him. Yes. You'd fight me. If I had to. His eyes narrow. You think you could win? I think you'd regret finding out. A slow, dry laugh slips from him. You got more fight than you look. And you've got less than you think. He sits forward again. Let me hold him. No. Why not? Because I don't want you to. You think I'd hurt him? I think you'd hurt yourself holding him. That's a strange thing to say. It's a strange thing to want. He leans closer, hands open now, voice low. I won't drop him. You'll drop something. I said, let me hold him. I heard you. He reaches. She pulls back hard. He's not the monster you knew. The words leave Ruth's mouth in a quiet tone, almost buried under the rattle of the wagon wheels and the sway of the bench. She keeps her. Eyes on the road, hands steady on the reins, shoulders square as if she hasn't said a thing. The rancher shifts beside her. Who's he? She doesn't answer. I asked you a question. I heard you. And we've got work waiting. That's not an answer. It's the one you're getting. He turns toward her, studying her profile. You talk like you've got secrets. I talk like I've got things to do. That line, what did you mean? Means we're almost there. You don't just drop words like that for no reason. I didn't drop them. You aimed at them. She flicks the reins, the horse's ears twitching forward. You want to sit in silence? Fine. You want to work better. He lets out a short, humorless laugh. You're scared to tell me. I'm not scared of you. Then say it. Not here. He glances toward the back of the wagon where the baby sleeps, bundled in worn cloth. Are you talking about him? Leave him out of it. Too late. Her head turns, eyes sharp. Don't make him a target. You think I'd hurt a child? I think you'd hurt what's in your way. That's different. It's not. The road narrows, boards of the wagon creaking beneath them. For a while, there's only the sound of the horse breathing and the groan of wheels over ruts. He breaks the silence. You think I don't know what people call me? I don't care what they call you. They call me worse than a monster. I'm sure they do. They're not wrong. She keeps her eyes on the road ahead. I didn't buy you to fix you. Then why? Because I needed someone who could take a hit and keep standing. That's all I am to you. A body? You're more useful that way than the way you were. You don't believe people change. I believe people change when they have to. And you think I have to. You will. The wagon jolts over a deep rut. The baby stirs, a small cry rising. Ruth glances back, adjusts the blanket, then steadies the reins without breaking rhythm. You don't tell me who that was about, he says. I'll find out myself. Maybe you will. And if I don't like what I find, then you'll have a choice to make. He smirks faintly. You think I'll choose the decent thing? I think you'll choose the thing that keeps you breathing. That's not the same. No. He looks at the fences passing by, half collapsed into the weeds. You're taking me somewhere I know. Maybe. I can feel it, smell it. Then you know where we're going. If it's what I think, you're a fool. You've said that before. This time, I mean it. She doesn't glance at him. I don't care what you mean. You will. The baby's cry quiets to a soft whimper. Ruth hums once without words, and the sound seems to settle the air. You could tell me now, he says. I could, but you won't. No. The road bends. The land opens wide. Ahead, in the shallow dip of a field gone to seed, sits a house leaning under its own age, porch sagging toward the earth. His eyes change. The smirk is gone. He doesn't speak. Ruth slows the horse. The yard is more weeds than dirt, fences caving in where posts have rotted through. She guides the wagon between two leaning gates. This is your idea of work? He asks at last. Yes. He stares at the porch. You know whose land this is. I know. It's mine. Was. That house. Still standing. Barely. The wagon stops in front of the steps. Dust swirls in the stillness. You think bringing me here's a good idea? He says. I think it's the only one. Are you trying to rub my face in it? I'm trying to see if you'll climb those steps or turn around. He keeps looking at the house, eyes drawn to a window on the second floor, like something might be watching. Are you going to get down? She asks. His boots stay planted. You're walking me into something. Maybe. He finally swings his legs over the side and drops into the yard, eyes still on the house that once carried his name. You're standing on my grave. Ruth doesn't flinch. It's just dirt. His jaw tightens. It's mine. It was never yours. He steps closer, boots grinding dry weeds into powder. I worked this land with my hands. And the sheriff seized it with his pen. That pen didn't own the soil. It did when the law said so. He spits in the dust between them. You sound like him. I'm not him. You brought me here. For work. For burial. She meets his stare. If I wanted you gone, I'd have left you at the block. You think this place is just a job site. It's a roof, a yard, a barn, same as any. He shakes his head, bitter. You don't see the bones. I see broken boards and fields left to rot. He points to the porch. You know who sat there? My father, his father, me, and the sheriff when he took it. You keep saying his name like you're his partner. I'm not anyone's partner. Then why drag me on to his prize? This was never his prize. It was his theft. And you're helping him keep it. She steps past him toward the porch. I'm helping myself. You paid for me just to bring me here. That's the game. There's no game. He follows, voice sharp. Everything with the sheriff is a game. Then I'm not playing. You don't get to choose. I just did. He grabs her arm, spins her. You're lying. She yanks free. Don't touch me. His eyes narrow. You're scared. Of you. Number of him. She turns away, climbing the first step. He's nothing to me. Then why is his land under your boots? I told you, it's not his. It's not yours. Then who is it? Whoever can keep it. What are you trying to do? Yes. You'll lose. Maybe. He studies her face, searching for something he can't name. You sound just like him when he took it from me. Maybe that's why I'll win. That's why you'll die. She glances back. You said this was your grave. Seems you're still walking. For now. You plan on stopping? Depends what's waiting inside. Rot. Dust. Maybe a bed. And ghosts. Those too. They step into the shade of the porch. The boards groan under their weight. You hear that, he says. Wood giving way. It's the sound of something breaking again. Then we fix it. He laughs, short and low. You can't fix what's buried here. Then we work around it. He leans against a post, arms crossed. Will the sheriff ever tell you what he did to take it? No. Ever ask? No. Then you're a fool. I don't need to know his story to work his land. It's not his land. You said that already. He watches her step to the door, fingers brushing the frame. You think this place will save you? I think it'll keep the rain off. You don't understand the kind of place this is. Then tell me. It's where people disappear. She glances over her shoulder. You're still here. For now. He steps off the porch, kicking at the dust again. You're part of his game, whether you like it or not. I bought you to end a debt, not your life. That's what you think. That's what I know. He shakes his head. The sheriff doesn't let things end. Then I'll make it end myself. You'll lose. You said that already too. The air between them feels like it's holding its breath. He spits again, farther this time toward the gate. You think you're different from the rest? I know I am. They all thought that. And you. I was never stupid enough to try. She studies him. Maybe you should have. Maybe I like breathing. Then work. Fix the barn. Clear the fence line. You're giving orders now? I bought your hours. I'll use them. He lets out a slow exhale, almost a laugh. You're going to regret this land more than me. We'll see. They stand in the yard a moment longer, the sun pressing heat against their backs. Somewhere beyond the ridge, sharp and sudden, a gunshot cracks the air. Ruth turns her head toward the sound. The rancher's eyes narrow. That's close. Closer than I'd like. They don't move, listening for the echo. It doesn't come. Keep walking, maid. You keep walking, drunk. They stand in the open yard, eyes locked, the ridge in the distance cutting a hard line against the sky. Somewhere up there, someone's holding a rifle, though neither of them can see the glint anymore. You saw it, he says. I saw someone. With a gun. Maybe. No? Maybe. I know the shape. She turns toward the corral. Then you know they're watching. That's why we go inside. That's why we keep working. He frowns, stepping after her. That's stupid. It's stubborn. It's going to get you shot. Maybe they're not here for me. They're not here for me either. Then what are you scared of? He doesn't answer, just grabs a loose rail and sets it back in place. She takes the post beside him, hammering in a rusted nail. You act like this is nothing, he mutters. It's nothing until they pull the trigger. That's too late to call it something. She moves to the next section. You want to run? Run. I've got a fence to fix. He works beside her, jaw tight, eyes flicking to the ridge every few seconds. You're impossible. I've been told. The baby's cry cuts through the yard, sharp and sudden. Both of them freeze. You left him inside? He asks. Yes. With the door open? Yes. You're insane. He's fine. The baby cries again, longer this time. Ruth drops the hammer and starts toward the house. He catches her arm. You step into that doorway, you'll be in plain sight. So will you. I'm not the one holding him. She pulls free and keeps walking. He swears under his breath, then follows. Inside, the baby's face is red from the effort, fists balled tight. Ruth lifts him, rocking until the cries turn to hiccups. The rancher watches from the doorway, eyes darting past her to the ridge. "Still there?" she asks. "Hard to tell." "Then look harder." He steps out into the yard, shading his eyes. A figure stands at the ridge's edge, still as a post. The sun makes it hard to tell if the rifle's in hand or slung over a shoulder. Ruth appears beside him, baby in her arms. "Well?" "They're watching." "Good. Good. They're wasting their time." He turns to her. "You're not scared. You're stupid." "Fear doesn't fix fences." "Neither does dying." The figure shifts, a slow turn toward the other side of the ridge. The movement's deliberate, like they want to be seen leaving. "You think they're done?" he asks. "Number just taking their time. They'll be back." "Then we'll still be here." He shakes his head. "You don't get it. Explain it to me." "They're not warning you. They're measuring you." "Let them measure." "You keep saying that like you've got nothing to lose." "I've got plenty to lose. That's why I'm not running." He looks at the baby in her arms, then back at the ridge. "You've just made us both a target. Eat." "I'd rather drink." "Eat, or I walk you back to the block." The rancher stares at the plate in front of him. Bread, beans, a strip of cold meat. Like it's a dare. Ruth stands on the other side of the table, arms crossed, the baby in a basket at her feet. "You think threats work on me?" he says. "I think hunger does." He picks up the bread, tears off a piece, and chews slowly. "Happy?" "Not yet. Guess I'll have to keep chewing." She sits, eyes on him. "Why does the sheriff hate you?" He smirks. "Is that a question or a bedtime story?" "It's a question." "Then it's not one I'm answering." "You already are. Every time you dodge." He leans back in the chair, arms folded. "Some things are better buried." "Things like bodies?" His eyes flick to hers, sharp. "You think you know something." "I know enough to ask." "You know enough to get yourself hurt." She leans forward. "Try me." He grabs another piece of bread, rips it in half. "The sheriff doesn't like me, that's all." "That's not all. It's enough." She shakes her head. "You said buried." "What's buried?" "History." "Yours or his?" "Both." The baby stirs, small hand twitching toward the light. Ruth bends, strokes his cheek until he settles. "You keep that thing close," the rancher says. "He's not a thing." "Not yet." She looks back at him, voice cool. "What does that mean?" "Means the world's not gentle." "Then tell me what the sheriff did." He laughs without humor. "You think I'm the villain here. I think you're part of it." His eyes harden. "Have you ever lost something you couldn't get back?" "Yes." "Then you know why some stories don't get told." She doesn't blink. "I'm not asking for the story. I'm asking for the truth." "They're the same." "Number stories can lie." He chews slowly, buying time. "You wouldn't believe me." "Try me." He stares at the table. "A man disappeared. The sheriff said it was me. It wasn't." "What man?" "You don't need his name." "I do." "No, you want it." "That's different." The baby wakes fully now, reaching out from the basket toward the rancher. He freezes. "What's he doing?" "He wants you." "Why?" "Babies know things." He pushes his chair back. "I'm not holding him." "I didn't ask you to." "Good." She lifts the baby, rests him against her shoulder. "You won't even touch him?" "I've got enough ghosts." "This isn't one of them." "You don't know that." Before she can answer, a sound cuts through the room. 3 knocks at the door, hard, slow, deliberate. "Heard you bought livestock." "Not livestock." "Labor." The sheriff stands in the doorway, hat pulled low, a smile fixed in place, but hollow in the eyes. 2 deputies flank him, broad shadows stretching across the porch. Dust clings to their coats like they've been standing outside long enough to listen before knocking. "Doesn't matter what you call it," the sheriff says, voice even. "Same work, same smell." Ruth plants herself in the kitchen doorway, one hand on the frame. "What do you want?" "Came to see how my old foreman's settling in." "He's not yours anymore." "He'll always be mine." From the table, the rancher lifts his head. "You mean your problem." The sheriff's eyes shift to him, unhurried. "Still got that mouth." "Still got that badge." The deputies glance between them like they've seen this dance before. Ruth cuts in, her tone like a knife sliding through rope. "Are you here for trouble or talk?" "Both, maybe." The sheriff tips his hat back, just enough to show a faint scar at his temple. "You think you can change him?" I'm not here to change him. Good. Saves you wasting your time. The rancher leans back in his chair, smirking. You tell her about the well. The deputies freeze, trading a quick look. The sheriff's jaw tightens, but his voice stays level. That's nothing she needs to hear. You never filled it in. Some holes are better left open. Easier to drop things in, right? A deputy shifts on his boots. Boss. The sheriff doesn't look at him. You're still looking for fights you can't win. And you're still hiding bodies. Ruth moves between them, eyes cutting from one to the other. Enough. The sheriff tilts his head. He's lying to you. I can figure that out myself. You think so? I know so. The deputies step into the kitchen, not waiting for permission. We're just having a look, one says. At what? Ruth's voice sharpens. Your crib, the other answers. My crib. Need to make sure you've got what you need for the baby. That's not your concern. The rancher pushes back his chair, wood scraping hard against the floor. You don't go near him. The sheriff doesn't glance his way. Stand down. I'm not your dog. You never were. Too wild to train, too dumb to shoot. The rancher takes a step forward. Ruth grabs his arm, fingers digging in. Let them look and go. The deputies cross the small front room, scanning the basket in the corner, the folded blanket on the chair, the bottle on the counter. Looks fine, one mutters. Of course it does. Ruth says. The sheriff steps in closer to her, the smell of tobacco and leather pressing into the air. You think, you're in control here. I am. He leans just enough for his words to be for her alone. He's lying to you. She doesn't blink. So are you. A smile touches his mouth, thin as paper. The difference is, I lie for a reason. She straightens. Then you'll understand why I don't believe you. The deputies reappear in the kitchen doorway. We're done. The sheriff nods once but doesn't move back. You know what happens when people think they can outplay me? They get tired of hearing themselves brag. They vanish. Then maybe I'll vanish, she says flatly. Not before you learn what you've tied yourself to. I know what I bought. You think you do. The rancher stands at her shoulder now, eyes locked on the sheriff. Tell her what you put in that well. The sheriff finally looks at him. You put him in there the same as me. That's a lie. Funny thing is, you can't prove it either way. The deputies shift again, uneasy now. The sheriff steps back toward the door. We'll talk again soon. I'm not hard to find, Ruth says. He stops in the doorway, tips his hat. Number you're not. And as he steps onto the porch, his voice drops low enough that only she can hear. He's lying to you. You want to see hell? Follow me. His voice is a rasp, barely rising over the sound of crickets and the rustle of dry grass. Ruth doesn't hesitate, just steps forward, boots crunching over the ground as she keeps her eyes on his back. The night is quiet, the kind of silence that weighs on the chest, thick and slow. He doesn't turn to check if she's following, but she is, every step matching his. They walk in silence, the darkness wrapping around them like a blanket. The moon is a sliver, barely enough to make the edges of the land visible. The wind stirs, but it doesn't break the stillness. Finally, he stops, and Ruth almost walks into him. They've reached the well, its rotting cover barely holding together in the moonlight. The wood is splintered, cracked, and the smell of damp earth wafts up from the dark mouth of it. The air around it feels colder, as if it's been pulling the heat from the world for years. That's it, he says, voice thick. That's where it happened. Ruth studies the hole, not moving closer. Who went down there? A man. He pauses. Never came up. Never? No. She looks down at the cover, her eyes catching the way the wood leans, as if the ground beneath it is shifting, pushing. Who? He doesn't answer right away, the tension between them thick enough to choke on. Finally, he speaks, almost a whisper. Someone I cared about. Ruth's eyes flick to him, but she doesn't ask more. She doesn't need to. He steps closer to the well, reaching down to touch the broken wood. His fingers brush the edge, but he doesn't lift it. I didn't do it, he mutters. Not the way they said. You didn't fill it in, she replies, her voice flat. His head jerks up, eyes narrowing. I tried. Not hard enough. I tried. He sounds bitter, like the words scrape against his throat. You don't know what it's like to... Know what? To lose someone. She cuts him off, her voice hardening. I know exactly what it's like, but you didn't lose him. You buried him. He flinches just a little, but enough that she notices. His shoulders tense. You think I wanted that? I don't know what you wanted. You think you can just twist it into some kind of story and you'll understand me? You think I'm just some killer to you? I think you're lying. He stares at her, the anger in his eyes flickering. You don't get it. I couldn't. You didn't finish it, she says, her words a whisper now, sharp as glass. The well never got filled. And you know why? Because something's still down there. The rancher shifts uncomfortably, eyes glued to the rotting cover. It's just a hole. Then show me. Why? His voice cracks, and for the first time, he looks vulnerable. Because you'll never get peace until you do. For a long moment, neither of them speaks. The world around them is heavy, the sound of the wind now replaced by the distant howl of a coyote. The rancher takes a breath, his chest rising and falling slowly. Finally, he steps toward the well, his hands shaking as he grabs the edges of the cover. The wood creaks under his grip, threatening to break apart at any moment. Ruth stands behind him, watching, her arms crossed over her chest. I don't want to do this, he mutters. You don't get to choose anymore. With a final grunt, he pulls the cover off, the old wood groaning as it moves. Ruth steps closer, her eyes drawn to the dark hole below, but she doesn't get too close. He doesn't speak, just stares into the well, his breath shallow. She watches him, the faint light from the moon catching his face, and for a moment, she sees the fear in his eyes. Not the fear of being caught, but the fear of something else, something deeper. I couldn't save him, he says, almost too quietly for her to hear. I know, she replies softly, but you're not the one who decided that. He turns his face toward her, his expression unreadable. The silence between them stretches again, long and heavy. Suddenly, from deep within the well, a faint sound rises, something that wasn't there a moment ago. A scraping, a whisper, like fingers dragging along the stone. Too far to reach, but too close to ignore. Ruth stiffens. What is that? The rancher's face pales, his eyes widening in disbelief. It's him. No, Ruth says, her voice steady but cold. It's something else. The sound fades as quickly as it came, leaving only the wind and the night around them. But the air is different now. He feels it too, the change in the space, the weight that hangs heavier than before. The rancher's voice is hoarse. I don't know what that was. I didn't mean for any of it to happen like this. Ruth doesn't answer him. She simply takes a step back. It doesn't matter now. The faint sound from below has stopped, but the silence it leaves behind is louder than ever. You hear it too. No. You're shaking. The rancher's voice is barely a whisper, as if speaking louder might wake something in the earth beneath them. He stands at the well's edge, frozen, eyes wide in the moonlight, his hands gripping the wooden edge as though it might pull him in. Ruth doesn't look away from the hole. The sound is still there, just out of reach, a faint scrape, like someone dragging their nails along stone. She can almost feel it beneath her skin, vibrating in the still air. You heard that, he says, more of a statement than a question. I heard it. It's not real. His voice cracks, the words soft but desperate. I used to dream about it, about that sound, when I was a boy. It's not a dream if two people hear it. He swallows hard, his eyes flicking from the well to her face, then back to the darkness below. I didn't think anyone else could hear it. You never wanted anyone to hear it. She steps closer, the wind catching her hair. Her voice is steady, but the words feel heavy on her tongue. You think you can bury it like the bodies? His eyes darted to her, sharp. I didn't bury anyone. You buried a man. His jaw tightens. I didn't what? She interrupts. Didn't kill him. I didn't. He looks away, staring at the ground. It wasn't like that. Then why is he down there? The wind picks up, rustling the dry grass, a low, mournful sound that almost drowns out the faint scrape from the well. But then it comes again, sharper this time, like a fingernail on a chalkboard. The rancher's breath hitches. I can't. Stop running from it. Ruth's voice cuts through the night like a blade. Whatever's in there, whatever's buried, it's not gone. His hand trembles as it slides over the edge of the well, his grip slipping. You don't get it. I never wanted this. You can't want something and ignore it at the same time. The baby's cry, distant but unmistakable, slices through the air and Ruth stiffens. Her body tenses, every muscle pulling her toward the house. That's him, she says, turning toward the door. I need to get him. The rancher doesn't move. eyes still fixed on the well. "You're going back there?" "Yes." "You think you can keep him safe?" "Not from you." She doesn't look back as she starts running toward the house. He hesitates for a second, then follows, his steps heavy and slow, dragging behind her. The door is open when she reaches it, the frame warped with time. The wind slams it against the wall with a loud thud, echoing like a warning. "Damn it," she mutters, stepping inside. The house smells musty, the air still and thick with the remnants of too many years. The baby's cries are louder now, more desperate. Ruth's heart races in her chest as she moves through the dark hall, her feet light but quick on the creaking floorboards. She can feel the rancher behind her, his presence like a shadow she can't outrun. When she reaches the room, she doesn't stop. She doesn't even slow down. The baby's face is red, tears streaking down his cheeks, his small hands reaching up for her. Ruth lifts him, calming him with a soft murmur, rocking him gently. "It's okay. It's okay." But even as she says the words, her mind races. The well, the sound, the past that neither of them can outrun. "Where is he?" the rancher says from the doorway, his voice tight. "Who?" "Whoever was in the well." Ruth doesn't answer him, doesn't even look up. She just holds the baby tighter, her fingers brushing over his soft skin, trying to steady her breathing. The rancher steps into the room, his gaze flicking over the crib, then back to Ruth. He doesn't speak, but she can feel the weight of his silence. The house feels smaller now, as if the walls are closing in around them. "What did you do?" he asks, his voice barely a whisper. She turns to face him, the baby cradled in her arms. "I didn't do anything. I'm trying to keep him safe." "You can't keep him safe here." Ruth opens her mouth to speak, but the words catch in her throat. She looks down at the baby, his tiny hands gripping her shirt, his cries starting to fade. Then, from the darkness outside, a new sound cuts through the night. A faint scraping, like nails on wood, too familiar to ignore. The rancher's face pales. "It's here." Ruth's heart skips a beat. "It's always been here." The baby stirs in her arms as if he knows the danger, his soft whimpers growing louder again. Ruth rocks him faster, her mind racing. The rancher takes a step toward the door. "We need to leave." "No." "We need to get out of here." "No." Her voice is firm, unyielding. "We stay." He looks at her, confusion flashing across his face. "Why? Why would you stay?" "Because it's already too late to run." He steps back, his eyes flicking between her and the door. "Then we're all trapped here." Ruth doesn't answer. She just holds the baby tighter, the faint scrape from the well now drowned out by the pounding of her heart. Outside, the door slams shut behind them, and the sound of the wind is the only thing left. "He's gone." "Not far." Ruth's breath catches as she looks down at the empty crib, the soft sheets crumpled in a way. That feels all wrong. Her pulse quickens, every sense heightened as she steps back and spins toward the door. "Where is he?" The rancher's eyes flick across the room, darting to the window, then the door. "The sheriff took him." Ruth's jaw tightens. "He wouldn't dare." "I know him better than you." "He wouldn't risk it." She moves quickly, checking every corner of the room, her hands gripping the edges of furniture, her eyes scanning the shadows as if the baby might be hiding there. The rancher grabs her arm. "I'm telling you." "I don't care what you're telling me." Ruth snaps, pulling free. "Where would he take him? Where is he?" "Where do you think?" She runs into the next room, her footsteps a frantic beat against the wooden floors. "Check the barn, check the house." "I'm checking." His voice snaps, but he follows her through the door, his hands running over every surface, flipping cushions, opening cabinets with a violence that matches the panic building inside them both. "He's not here," she yells. "Where did you put him?" "I didn't." He stops, the words hanging in the air, a lie he can't quite finish. "I didn't put him anywhere. I didn't take him." "Then who the hell did?" "Maybe someone who knows this place better than you," he says, his voice dropping to a low growl. She pauses for a split second, her eyes narrowing. "The sheriff?" "Could be." "No." Ruth moves past him, her feet barely touching the ground as she heads to the door. "I'll deal with the sheriff. You found him. You think you can go after him alone?" "I'll find him alone if I have to." Before he can protest, Ruth's already out the door, the air still, the world outside darker than ever. The rancher hesitates, then follows, the gravel crunching under his boots as he catches up with her. They don't speak, just move through the night, their steps hurried, breaths short. The moon hangs above, offering little light, the shadows long and oppressive. "Where do we start?" he asks, his voice low, guarded. "The well." "Not well." "I'm not asking." He slows. "You really think it's there?" "I think it's the only place left to check." She's already halfway to the edge of the field before he catches up with her, his voice tight. "You don't even know what's down there." "I know exactly what's down there," Ruth says, not turning to look at him. "I know exactly what's been buried." They reach the well, its broken cover still hanging loose, the hole beneath it like a wound in the earth. Ruth grabs the rope, tying it to a nearby post without hesitation. "What if he's gone, Ruth?" the rancher asks, his voice hoarse. "What if he's gone for good?" Ruth's hands still, the knot in the rope tight but secure. She turns to him, her face hard. "Then we make sure he's not alone." "You think that's enough?" "I don't think we have a choice." The wind picks up, rustling through the dry grass. The sound of it, like the whispers of things long forgotten, fills the space between them. The rancher watches her, eyes shadowed. "You're sure?" Ruth glances down at the rope. "If I'm not, then you go first." He stares at her, his gaze like a weight on her chest, but he doesn't argue. Instead, he steps back, his boots scraping against the dirt. Without another word, Ruth grabs the rope and climbs over the edge. The cold air rushes up to meet her as she begins to descend, the well's walls scraping against her hands, the darkness below swallowing everything. The rope shifts, creaking with the weight, but Ruth doesn't look up. She can't. She focuses on the sound of her breath, the steady rhythm of her descent, the pull of gravity against her. The sound from the well is there again, faint but distinct, scraping, nails on stone. It sends a shiver down her spine, but she doesn't stop. As she nears the bottom, she hears something else, a faint, distant thud, then another. She pulls harder on the rope, her feet brushing against the bottom. Her hands touch the earth, and she gasps, pulling herself free of the rope. She stands in the cold, dark silence, feeling the weight of everything closing in on her. From above, the rancher's voice calls down to her, his tone strained. "Ruth, I'm here." The silence swallows her reply, and for a moment, she just stands there, the coldness of the well creeping into her bones. Then the sound comes again, louder this time. A scraping, closer and closer still. She grabs the rope, ready to climb, but the baby's cry cuts through the night, distant but unmistakable. The sound freezes her, roots her to the spot. She turns her head, listening, feeling the cold shiver slide through her again. The rancher's voice calls again, more frantic. "Ruth!" But this time the sound below her isn't just the scrape of stone. It's something else, something alive. And then, the silence. "Give him to me." The words fall from Ruth's lips, sharp and cold in the silence of the well. She stands at the bottom, her hands gripping the edge of the stone, her legs aching from the climb. Her breath comes in short gasps, and in the dimness, the world feels smaller, tighter. She stares at the man sitting against the well's side, his figure hunched, half-shadowed, holding the baby close to his chest. The sheriff. He doesn't move at first, doesn't acknowledge her. His eyes, dark in the half-light, seem to look through her, his face tight with something unreadable. The baby stirs in his arms, a small whimper cutting through the heavy air. "Give him to me," she repeats, taking a step closer. The sheriff's voice breaks the silence, low and rough. "You shouldn't be here." She takes another step, her feet sure on the ground. "You should never have come here." The sheriff's hand tightens around the baby, pulling him closer as though trying to keep him out of her reach. "You don't understand." "I understand enough," Ruth says. "I understand everything." For the first time, the sheriff looks up, his eyes locking with hers. There's a flicker of something in them. Regret? Fear? It's gone too quickly for her to tell. He shifts uncomfortably, almost as if the weight of the truth is too much to carry. "You think you know what happened?" he asks, his voice hardening. "I know what you did." The rancher's voice cuts in from above, barely audible through the rope. "What's going on down there?" The sheriff's head jerks up at the sound. Ruth's gaze flicks back toward the rope, but she doesn't answer. The rancher's voice cracks, urgent now. "Ruth, what's happening?" "I'm fine," she says, though her voice trembles, but the sheriff doesn't wait for Ruth to respond. His voice rumbles with bitterness. "You think you've figured it out, don't you?" "I haven't figured anything out, but you've been running from the same thing for too long," Ruth takes a step closer, her feet sinking slightly into the wet ground beneath. You took him, didn't you? The man in the well. The sheriff stares at her, the faintest of smiles curling at his lips, a bitter, twisted thing. You're right. I took him. And you're just as much a part of it as I am. Ruth doesn't move, her gaze unwavering. Why did he go down there? The sheriff's fingers tremble around the baby's tiny body, his face grim. Because he had to. Had to. Ruth takes another step closer, her heart hammering in her chest. He had a family. He had a future. You took that from him. The sheriff's eyes darken, his lips tightening into a thin line. He stands slowly, as though the weight of the years is finally catching up to him. You think you know what happened. You think you understand what I did. I know you killed him, she snaps. I know you buried him, and I know you've been hiding the truth all these years. The sheriff's breath catches in his throat, but he doesn't look away. You think I killed him. You don't know anything about what happened. You don't know about the deal we made. The promise. A promise? Ruth repeats, incredulous. To who? To what? To the land, the sheriff mutters, his voice hollow. To the ranch. We made a deal. He couldn't keep it. I couldn't let him. Ruth's hands ball into fists. So you killed him to keep the land. The sheriff doesn't answer. His eyes flick to the baby in his arms, his grip loosening just slightly. That's why you let me think you were the one who... Ruth's voice breaks. You let me think it was him. That it was my fault. The sheriff's face tightens. But this time, he doesn't argue. His silence is all the admission she needs. The rancher's voice calls again, desperation in it now. Ruth, where's the baby? She looks up at the rope, her breath shallow. He's with the sheriff. Her voice falters, and she looks back at the man holding the baby. The sheriff stands there, his posture slumped, the weight of his guilt hanging heavy on his shoulders. The baby's eyes are wide, and he reaches out toward her, his small hands flailing in the air. The rancher's voice breaks through again, urgent. Ruth, give him back. Without thinking, Ruth takes a step forward, closing the distance between herself and the sheriff. Give him to me. The sheriff's eyes flicker to the baby and then back at her. His face falls, the hardness fading into something almost human. Do it, Ruth says, her voice steady. The sheriff hands the baby over, the weight of him shifting in Ruth's arms. For a moment, the world seems to stop, the silence wrapping around them like a blanket. Ruth takes the baby close to her chest, his small body warm against her. The sheriff steps back, his shoulders sagging as if the weight of the years is finally too much to carry. He doesn't speak, doesn't move, just watches them. We're done here, Ruth says, her voice firm. You'll never see him again. The sheriff nods once, a single slow motion, and turns away. The rancher's voice comes from above again, this time softer. Ruth, I'm coming up, she says, her voice tight with emotion. She begins to climb, the rope digging into her palms as she pulls herself toward the top. The world above feels like a dream, like she's stepping out of the darkness and into the light. When she reaches the top, the rancher is there, waiting. He doesn't say anything, just looks at her, then at the baby in her arms. She hands the baby over to him gently. He's not the monster you knew. The rancher's eyes soften, and for the first time, there's a flicker of understanding between them. His hands hold the baby carefully, like a fragile thing, and Ruth steps back, watching them both. The sky is beginning to lighten, the first hints of dawn creeping over the horizon. The darkness is fading, but the truth, the weight of it, lingers in the air, thick and undeniable. And for the first time, Ruth feels like she's stepped out of the shadows. Now what? Now we live. The words hang heavy in the air as Ruth stands in the center of the barn, hands on her hips, staring at the scattered remnants of the life they had been living. A life defined by silence, by secrets, by years of hidden truths. The rancher is a few steps behind, eyes distant, as if the ground beneath him might open up and swallow him whole. Ruth doesn't look back at him. She doesn't need to. The tension in the air is enough. She can feel it in the way he's holding himself, like every breath he takes might crack the fragile silence between them. Do you ever think about what we're doing? He asks, his voice low, almost uncertain. Every damn day, she replies, her tone sharp, but the question hangs in the air longer than she expected. You don't care about the land, he pressed. You don't care about what happened here? I care about what happens next. Ruth steps forward, her eyes fixed on the horizon beyond the barn door. The field stretches out before her, a patchwork of untended crops and wild grass. The ranch is still here, still standing, and so are they. The past is buried. There's no use digging it up unless it's to fix what's broken. He shifts uncomfortably. You think it's that easy? Just put it behind us? I'm not asking you to forget, Ruth says, her voice firmer now, with a touch of resolve. But I'm done standing still. The sheriff's gone. The land is ours. He exhales sharply, staring down at the dirt beneath his boots. Ours? You really believe that? Ruth turns to him, her gaze hard. I don't just believe it. I know it. The rancher shakes his head slowly. You don't understand. What we did, what he did to us, it's still here. It's in the walls. It's in the land. You can't outrun it. I'm not trying to outrun it, she counters, stepping toward him. I'm trying to build something new, something better. The weight of his guilt seems to press down on him like an invisible hand. He looks away, shoulders slumping. You think I don't know what happened here? She doesn't answer right away, letting the question hang in the air. I know you've been carrying it, Ruth says, softer now, her voice just above a whisper. I know you blame yourself. His voice cracks as he turns to face her. I was part of it. I could have stopped him, could have done something. But I didn't. I was too damn weak to stop it. Ruth takes a step forward, but her words are careful, measured. You're not the one who buried him, rancher. You didn't put him in that well. I might as well have, he mutters, his voice shaking. I stood by and let it happen. And now the land. It still has his stain on it. It's covered in blood, and I'm tied to it. The land doesn't have blood on it, Ruth says, shaking her head. It has dirt. It has the sweat of every person who worked on it. And it has the chance to be something different. We just have to keep working. I can't keep pretending like it's all okay, the rancher says, his voice tight. I can't keep pushing it down, Ruth. I can't live like this. Then stop living in the past. The rancher steps back, shaking his head. It's not that simple. Ruth squares her shoulders, standing tall despite the weight of the conversation. It is. It's as simple as making a choice. You can either live in the mess of what happened, or you can live in what we're going to build. He turns away from her, the lines of his back rigid. And if what we build isn't enough, what if we can't make it right? She watches him, the silence stretching long between them. She knows the weight of what he's asking, knows the doubts swirling in his mind, the fear of failing again, but she doesn't let herself be swayed. Then we fix it, she says, her voice steady. One piece at a time. The rancher shakes his head, but Ruth doesn't let him break her focus. You can't fix everything all at once, and you can't fix what's already been done, but you can choose to make something better, a future, not a dead end. For a long moment, he doesn't answer. His eyes are on the ground, his fists clenched. Ruth knows he's fighting it, fighting the truth she's laid out. She waits. Finally, he lets out a breath, his shoulders sagging. I'm scared. I know. I don't know if I can let it go, Ruth. I'm not asking you to. She steps closer, her voice softer. But you can't keep holding on to it. You can't keep burying yourself under the weight of it. I'm not asking you to forget. I'm asking you to move forward. The rancher doesn't look at her, but she sees the muscles in his neck tighten, the tension in his jaw. I don't know how. You'll learn, she says simply. He nods, but the doubt still lingers in his eyes. I won't make this easy for you, Ruth adds, her voice still steady, but I won't let you stay stuck. You need to make a choice. The rancher looks out at the land stretching before them. The field that's theirs. The house that's theirs. The future that's theirs if they can face it. He doesn't say anything for a long while, but when he finally speaks, it's quieter than before. Then let's fix it, Ruth nods. One piece at a time. The silence settles between them again, but this time it's different. It's not full of guilt and questions. It's full of possibilities. And as the first light of dawn breaks over the horizon, Ruth knows that they have a chance, a real chance, but only if they both take the first step. The house is trying to tell us something. What? That we're not welcome. The rancher stands in the doorway, eyes shadowed, his hand resting on the frame as he watches Ruth pace back and forth in the dimly lit room. The house creaks under its own weight, the sound of old wood settling into the night, but the noises Ruth has been hearing, Those low, scratching, whispering sounds, they're different. They're not natural. Ruth doesn't look at him. Her eyes are focused on the walls, her fingers tracing the edges of the plaster, the cracks in the wood. She listens, tilting her head to catch the faint sounds that seem to hum beneath the surface of the house. "You've been hearing it too," she says, not looking up. "The wind. It's just the wind." "It's not the wind," she snaps, her voice sharper than she intends. She turns to face him, eyes hard. "I hear it every night, and you can't tell me it's the wind." The rancher takes a slow breath, his face tightening. "We've been through enough, Ruth. This place doesn't need any more of your— Don't you get it?" She interrupts, her voice rising. "This place wants us to hear it. The house is trying to tell us something." He shakes his head, stepping back, clearly frustrated. "We've got enough to worry about without chasing ghosts." She doesn't respond, instead moving to the corner of the room where the floorboards seem to bow slightly. She crouches, pressing her ear to the wood, listening. The sound is there, distant but distinct, a scraping, a faint whisper. "Tell me that's just the wind," she mutters under her breath. The rancher watches her for a moment before letting out a heavy sigh. He knows she's right. Something about this house, about this land, pulls at them both. But it's a pull he doesn't want to feel. "You don't know what you're doing," he says, his voice low and strained. "Whatever's here, whatever's buried, it's not something you can just dig up." Ruth doesn't look up, her focus still on the floorboards. "I'm not afraid of what's buried." His eyes narrow, and for the first time, she sees the flicker of fear in them. "You should be." The words hang between them, heavy and uncomfortable. Ruth's eyes flicker to him, but she doesn't speak. She's heard enough of his doubts, his fears. It's her turn now to face what's underneath. She stands, brushing the dust from her hands, and moves toward the door. "I'm going to look into the history of this place." The rancher reaches out, grabbing her arm. "Ruth, you don't know what you're asking for." "I need to know the truth." He looks at her, his grip tightening, then slowly releases her. "Fine," he mutters. "Go digging. But don't come crying to me when you find something you can't forget." She doesn't respond. Instead, she steps out into the hall, her mind already racing with the possibilities. For the next few days, Ruth digs into the history of the ranch. She combs through old ledgers, yellowed papers, and dusty journals, trying to uncover the secrets of the land and the people who once lived here. She learns about the ranch's original owner, a man whose name was barely remembered by the townsfolk. She discovers mentions of debts owed, land disputes, and whispers of something darker, something no one was willing to speak about openly. But as she digs deeper, the sounds in the house grow louder. The walls seem to breathe with a life of their own, and the scraping, the whispering, grows more insistent. She can't escape it. The house is alive in ways she never imagined. One night, as she sits in the dim light of the living room, piecing together the fragments of her findings, she hears it again. But this time, it's different. The sound is closer. The whispering is clearer. She stands up, her heart racing, and moves toward the staircase. The noise is coming from above, from the attic. Her hands shake as she climbs the stairs, the house groaning underfoot, as though it's aware of what she's about to find. When she reaches the attic door, she hesitates. The air is thick, the silence deafening, but the whispers call to her. She doesn't know if they're real or imagined, but she can't ignore them any longer. She pushes open the door. The attic is cold, its shadows deep, but something catches her eye, a faint shape, a figure standing in the corner of the room. For a moment, she thinks it's just the dim light playing tricks on her. But then the figure steps forward, a man. His face is obscured, but there's something eerily familiar about him. Ruth's breath catches in her throat. "Who are you?" she asks, her voice trembling. The figure doesn't answer. It just stands there, watching her. The whispers grow louder, more urgent, filling the room with a pressure that makes it hard to breathe. And then, just as quickly as it appeared, the figure disappears, leaving only the sound of her heartbeat in the silence. Ruth stands frozen in the attic, her mind racing. The figure, the whispers, everything she's uncovered, it's all connected. The sheriff's crimes, the land, the curse of the well. She's not alone here. Her heart pounds in her chest as she turns to leave, but before she reaches the door, her hand brushes something. A piece of paper. It's hidden under a loose board, crumpled and old. She unfolds it, reading the words scrawled across the yellowed page. The past cannot be buried. It calls to those who dare to build over it. Ruth's blood runs cold. This is the final piece. She folds the letter carefully and tucks it into her pocket, her mind swirling with the revelation. She knows what she must do. She has to uncover the rest of the story, no matter the cost. She walks out of the attic, but the house feels different now. It's alive with the voices of the past, and Ruth knows that nothing will ever be the same again. As she closes the door behind her, she knows she's not just digging into the history of the land, she's digging into her own fate.